All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Coleman Lantern Cave. I know it's been a minute since I've been able to get a video on here. Life does go on. Happy 4th of July for all of you celebrating Independence Day today. It's a great day to be American. What better way to be out here than messing with some Coleman lanterns? So I want to make this video about what happens when you find a lantern and you bring it home and you want to fire it up and get ready. So you find a lantern maybe in Grandpa's attic, Grandpa's basement. Neighbor had a yard sale, you see one sitting there, maybe it's in a barn, estate sales, on eBay, could be something you found on Facebook, but nevertheless, you get one home and you want to go ahead and start and light it up. So first couple things you're going to do, it really kind of starts when you're at the sale. You want to go ahead and take a look at the lantern, see if it's in decent shape. Sometimes you'll find ones that look horrible, but they'll work just as good, so don't always judge a book by its cover, because I have had a bunch of lanterns that run great, and they look terrible, and I've had other lanterns that look amazing, and they're nothing but trouble. So don't just judge a book by its cover. Start looking over it, see what you can find. First thing I always do is give it a shake, because I want to see if it's got fuel in it. Lanterns that have fuel in it, 9 times out of 10, are going to be in better shape than lanterns are dry. That's just my experience. Other collectors may tell you different, but I think if you got fuel in it, it's a good start. Lots of additives in the fuel that help prevent corrosion. I always store my lanterns with at least a half a fountain worth of fuel. It's just a better thing. I just have had better experience with it. So give it a shake. If it's got fuel in it, that's good. Second thing I'm going to do before I'm going to make my purchases is I want to go ahead and turn the valve, make sure that this is going to turn. If it does turn, that's really, really good. Give the pricker wire a good turn. That's a good sign. I like seeing that. Looking at the lantern, I don't see anything major that's a big issue. It's got the pump intact. The cap is there. The vent's there. The top is there. It's all together. So I'm going to go ahead and pay for this lantern. I'm going to bring it home. Now I've got it home. Now what do I want to start doing troubleshooting it? Well, first thing I want to make sure is that there's fuel in the tank, or in the fount. I keep saying tank. It's just one of those things I can never get over with. Said it for many years. Fuel in the fount. Make sure that's in there. Okay, and the next thing you're going to want to do is, obviously it has fuel in there. We don't see any puddles. Everything looks nice and dry, so the fount looks to be intact. So we're going to go ahead, and the first thing we're going to do is see if it's going to pump up. We've gone over this before. This is the pump to put pressure in the fount. You want to actuate it by opening up the valve. When you do that, this is what's actually inside of the tube. This is the check valve with the pin that sits inside of it that locks it up. When you open this, you're actually spinning this, and this threads out, and there's a little pin that sits in here, and that's what closes off the check valve, and actually is kind of a secondary closing point if this check valve isn't holding. So that's what you're opening. When you open that, it allows the cup to push the air through and go down into here and into the fount. So that's what that looks like. All right, so if you get it and there's not a lot of back pressure and it's clanking on here really good chance is going to be that the leather cup, and this is the actual pump sleeve that actually goes inside of here so you can see it. It rides less like that. Probably your leather cup is probably dried out or needs a refresh. Now sometimes these can be neoprene, they may just need a little bit of oil. So what I like to do is to refresh the cup, you want to use either a 3-in-1 oil or what I use is called neat's foot oil. You want to go ahead and use that. Go ahead and take your cup, put it right in here and sit it down in there and kind of just refresh a little bit. When you get it done, after it sits here, you can kind of knead a little bit, get the oil in there. Sometimes you want to just get a little smear of oil inside of the sleeve to get the process lubed back up a little bit. So once we do that, we'll go ahead and put it back in. I'll show another video how to actually disassemble this. It's not that hard, but they do come in certain different configurations. Let's say now that we start getting back pressure, we start feeling the air going in here, but it starts pushing our finger out. See how it's doing that? I actually have this one. It has a check valve leak in it, and when you put your finger over it, now it doesn't want to do it. Well, what it would do is it actually would ride my finger. Yeah, this is like a partial check valve. Sometimes it works. But if you have a problem with the check valve and you put your finger over the hole, it'll start to push your finger back. Kind of like so. I'm kind of cheating it because it's not doing it now. This one does it sometimes. But if you put your finger over the hole and there's air coming out, it's going to naturally ride and push your finger back. So it's a good way to know that this check valve is a little BB in here. And if that BB's crudded up inside of here, it's not going to seat right and you're going to get air coming out of there. But anyway, you can seal it by just closing it up. And that'll actually cheat the system. We can work on the check valve later. The other thing we want to do is, let's say we put the air and we feel the air going in, and then we want to pressure test. Well, if we open up the cap and we don't hear a hissing sound, where did the air go? It's a good question. Maybe it was leaking as we were doing it. Most of the time, when you get these home, you'll find that because they've sat for a while, these poor caps, they have a little tiny gasket inside of here. You can see both of them. This one's really bad, this one's really good. The gasket is dried out. So you may have a leak on there. So what I do to test, to see if the fount, in fact, is intact, is I take my finger and I'm going to put my finger over top of the fuel hole. I'm going to reopen up the valve. I'm going to go ahead and give it about 20 to 30 pumps. And you're going to start feeling back pressure on your finger. Okay, you're going to start to feel it. Now what you also can do is you can stop pumping and you can listen. Okay, I don't hear anything. That's a good sign. If there's a small leak somewhere or a pinhole, maybe it's above here or something, you're going to hear that noise. You're going to see bubbling. You're going to see all kinds of stuff. I don't hear anything, and I can feel the pressure on my finger. Now, the real quick, and this is always fun, it always gets the kids. You can hear the air sound and escape when I leave my finger. So that's showing me, okay, the fount is in fact intact. I've got a problem most likely with the gasket on my cap. So we're going to talk about that in another video, how to change out that gasket. I'm not worried about that right now because we tested this. The cap is in fact holding, so we're going to let that go through. So now we've got an intact fount. We're going to go ahead and put pressure in the fount the regular way. And then we're going to go ahead and light this up. Of course, if you have to change out the check valve, we'll talk about that. I've got a really handy tool that makes changing out check valves easy. We'll talk about that as well. It's something you can certainly light the lantern with if you wish. Some may tell you not to because it's dangerous. That's up to you. Remember, we are dealing with fire, so do be careful. You all have to take it into your own consideration, but I don't mind doing it with the leaky check valve. So we're going to go ahead and pressurize the fount up. We're going to go ahead and light it. You've all seen my lighting video on how I do this. I like to go ahead and take the vent off and the hood and keep it clean. That's something I do. Obviously, when you get a lantern from Grandpa's basement or something along those lines, it's probably going to be covered in dust. So go ahead and give it a quick clean, quick rag, get the dust off it, get the dirt off it, get the bugs out of it. That's what you're going to want to do. So we did that. We're going to want to look for a couple things now. We want to see if it's going to light, it's going to glow bright. A couple different things could happen. When you go ahead and pressurize it, I like to go ahead and give it a quick look and listen and feel. It's not CPR, but you should hear a hissing sound and a gurgle, which I do hear, okay? So I heard a hissing sound, I heard a kind of a slurping sound. So what that tells me is that I've got air that's inside the fount that's going to go into this little air hole, okay? That's where the air goes in. That's why we talked about not filling your fount up all the way, because this wants to be clear. You want air to go into this hole, and then you want fuel, which goes up through the bottom of this. When this is turned, there's a pin down here. And when you turn this, this pin will go up and allow fuel to come up inside of here. So if you hear air, no gurgling, could be a chance that this pin down here is stuck. We'll talk about that in another video, how to service that. But if you hear air and gurgling, that means you're getting air and you're getting fuel. So it's a good sign that the lantern most likely is going to light off. So we've heard that, we've done that, we've pressurized it, everything's there, we've heard the gurgling sound. Let's go ahead and see if we can add some fire to this and see what she's going to do. I have lost my lighter, there it is. Amazing when you have a workbench, things get lost and yet they're right in front of you. I'm sure you've all done that. So I'm going to go ahead and light this up real quick. I've already kind of primed it, so it may kind of just flare up, but there it goes. Okay, so right now we've got flames, so that's great. That means we're getting fuel. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the fuel on. Should be preheated. And I'll kind of turn this so you can see it. But something's funny. Interesting. It's glowing, but it's got flames and it's not very bright. Y'all see that? Bottom's glowing, but we're getting big flames coming out here, and it doesn't sound normal. I don't hear that normal roar that it gives. I wonder why that could be. Well, let's try to put some more air in it and see if it helps it at all. So we're going to head ahead and put a couple more strokes in here. No improvement. I hear a little bit more of a hissing sound, but the problem is I've got these giant flames that are coming up on the side of the lantern. You can see that. Now, as you notice, as I brought it in there, look how all of a sudden the air, as I move it, has the air addition of the wind brightens it up. So what do you think that means? Well, by having too much flame and not enough air, which is most likely what's going on here, we have a fuel air problem. Right now, this lantern, from what I can tell, it's getting too much fuel and not enough air. So the mixture of the combination is extremely important. So we got a problem here. This lantern's never going to go like this. So what could it possibly be? Well, back here, this is the fuel air tube. Okay, most likely it's clogged. All right, so I'm going to stop this video. You can go to part 2. I'm going to take this apart. I'm going to show you how we're going to take a look at this. This could have gotten clogged up maybe with a couple of spider webs, maybe some dirt daubers got in here. It's been sitting in Grandpa's basement, so Lord knows what's in here. Lord knows kids could have stuck bubble gum in there, playing a practical joke, put it back together. Let's take it apart and we'll see what we got when we go down here. Join us in a few minutes.